Welcome, everybody, to another post-game live stream. Atl Utd Fan TV sounding off. It's hard. It's hard some days to muster the energy to do this. Considering the team can't muster enough to get 3 points at home against lackluster opponents. Let's just call it what it is. That team is not good in New England. And yet, we found a way. We found a way to lose all 3 points. It'd be bad enough if everyone was saying, a tie would cause us to riot, like 5 Takes said. But no, it's even worse. I did not expect this. I thought even at the worst times this wouldn't be, what would happen for this game in particular. But, weird things happen in sports. A weird thing in general that's happening right now is what is going on with this team. It defies reasoning. There's a bunch of different theories being floated around, a lot of ideas, some of them a little crazy, some of them a little more on point, but we'll talk about as many as we can. But man, it is just weird. At the end of the day, it's just weird. I don't really understand how this team can be this lackluster, specifically in its attack. It just is too much. I'm incredulous about this team's attack. Like when it gets like that, it's insane. So without further ado, because we have a couple of guests to get to today. One is Glenn from the 5 Takes will be joining us shortly. As I get AJ queued up to hop in and talk with us over this. Like this is like I don't want to belabor this result too much because it's just frustrating. No one wants to talk about it. It's just, what the hell did we just watch? But at the same time, we got to talk about it because this is it bears discussion and analysis, even if it is just difficult and a slog to get through. So without any ado, we have AJ in, and we'll be joined by Glenn soon because he has to leave kind of shortly. So we'll have Glenn pop in a minute. But I just wanted to get AJ's initial reaction before we say hi to Glenn.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Is it on? Yeah. Guys. Yeah. It's just, it's baffling. We'll let Mark join afterward. Sorry about that, Mark.
It's good. He can stay for now.
He can stay? Okay,
he can
cool.
stay for now.
Well, cool. So, yeah, it's one of these games that we look good. We look good in the first half. We pretty much have the lion's share of XG. We have the majority of the chances. We have the ball in the back of the net. And then, you have a ref that just, VAR as well. They just, they screwed the pooch for us. And I don't know. It's like, I think this team, when they get the wind taken out of their sails, it's really difficult for them to kind of get it back to half-mast and, continue to push forward. Because I think that second half, we were trying, but it's just the quality was just really poor. And however many crosses we put in today, I mean, the type of football that was being played, extremely lackluster, no movement, and basically just, I mean, it's not quite hero ball from, yesteryear, but it is to a degree. These players are individuals, and they're not playing like a team, and they lack cohesion hardcore. And yeah, it's just 4 points from a 3-game homestand
against
Piss
weak
poor.
against weak opposition. You know, these are teams we're supposed to be able to get after, and we did not look good really against any of them. And then it's just going to get harder from here. It's going to get substantially harder, and I am really not looking forward. I mean, if you were worried about these games, it's going to be really, really grim. Coming at least just starting things off with Philadelphia away. Like, geez.
Yeah, it's a tough away day for sure always in Philly. But yeah, 9 points from 8 games. It's our worst start ever. And to put that in context, it's worse than Heinze. That's worse than last year.
That's worse than
Last
COVID.
year. That's worse than COVID. Like, wow. Yeah, I mean, this attack is underwhelming for sure. It was a little perplexing to me, actually, to actually put 3 at the back. I think that actually put a bit of... I think the halftime sub of Saba for Noah Cobb, it just didn't make sense. The player that probably should have come off was Moranchuk, because I don't know. I don't think there was much in Moranchuk's game today that really propelled us forward.
Yeah, completely agree.
And
I didn't think he really did much at all. I didn't see much from him. There was very few times when he popped up. All he did was kind of link passes together that really went to nowhere. These weren't effective passes. They were just kind of, continuing it along, inevitably going to, not go anywhere with it. I don't know what you'd call these types of passes, but just like passing to pass along, not like strategic or forward thinking or attacking passes, which is what a 10 should be trying to do. They're like mostly back passes, safety, and it wasn't anything that tried to push the envelope to get the game to open up anywhere as much as he should be doing.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where, it was almost where he was trying to move it fast, but it wasn't where we were trying to move it. We were trying to move the ball forward, and yet, yes, like you're saying, some almost lackadaisical passes backward. And, Saba, if anything, inconsistent, but what we do know about him is that he's gonna try to make something happen. And especially if we're down, he's going to go all out, give as much energy. He's one of those players that takes the game by the scruff of the neck, and I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Taking him off at halftime, and then it's like then we had to get a little bit more attacking. We put Shante Silva at left wing back. I don't think we should have gone 3 at the back to begin with, and I don't think New England was really putting us under the cosh enough. So essentially, Diallo was saying, okay, these wingbacks need to be putting in crosses as much as they can. I don't understand why.
Yeah, obviously there was no one there to receive them as well. And then just to comment on your Saba stuff, like the guy, I think it was either the first or second thing he did in the game is do the thing I spent like the entire last episode saying not to do. Come right in the box. You had 2 guys like wide open in the box, and he just doesn't lift up his head, takes a shot, like the announcers, I think Mike Conti said, or Jason Longshore said on the broadcast. He had made up his mind even before he had gotten the ball that he was going to do this, and you just can't do that. You just can't do that. And he just fires it right at it, completely a waste of an opportunity, and it's just more of the same. Like, I don't know why that didn't get drilled into his head. Maybe don't do that. It's not gonna work. It hasn't been working. Stop doing the same stuff over and over again. And then he gets taken out in what was essentially a disciplinary measure, because when they were asked at the press conference, why did Saba come out? Was he injured? No, he came out because I wanted him to come out.
So it was more tactical. It was more, definitely a punishment to a degree. Also, it's Emmanuel Atl Utd. It didn't cover himself with glory, I would say, as far as his shooting boots. That shot was pretty tame when he had that one-on-one essentially in behind, and it was right at the keeper. It was, I think most people in the stadium would have been like, that's a goal. And it's not. And I think that set the tone, unfortunately, for the day. Is that, if Emmanuel Atl can't put away a one-on-one, boy, we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. And, even with the Mickey goal, that saw the back of the nets, I think, that being taken away really, really put the team in a kind of just a weird mood.
Yeah, I called it in the Discord. I was saying, like, this is going to really test the team's mentality, because we've seen this happen before. Something doesn't go their way. They think they've been slighted by either a bad call or something, like, oh, just bad luck, it's not in it today. And then all of a sudden their heads go down. It was, they were asked, Dyla was asked in the press conference, like, was that happening? Did you see their heads go down? I think Sidney Hunt asked that, and then he said, no, I don't think it was that, but I think it was, because this is something we've seen multiple times, that things don't go their way, and all of a sudden the momentum 100% switches. What happens after that? We concede a penalty because what? Players are frustrated, things aren't going their way. Emmanuel Atl commits a foul, a rash foul that Brad Guzan rightly called rash, and really should be more experienced to not make that decision. Commits that foul, and then we go down because Carlos Heel does not miss from the spot. So, I mean, like, what are you doing? It's incredibly frustrating.
And it's this, right, Atl, for all of his strengths, the man, when he tracks back, it's great, but also he gets a lot of yellow cards. Yeah. And he didn't get a yellow card in this match, but he absolutely did kind of commit himself too much. And it was unnecessary. The player was already going backward. Okay, sure, he might try to, do exactly what Miguel Miron did, but I mean, the likelihood of that is just a lot less. So it's just, it's a very frustrating game. It's a frustrating homestand. It's, we had the hope that we could possibly at least get 7, especially against a lower performing team. But it's just absolutely not good enough. And it's going to be, like you're saying, like, where do we go from here? Could it be, like, I mean, obviously he's not going to be fired, Dyla. So, I mean, it's just like, everything's up from here, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is, I don't know, like, it looks a little dire.
It does. It does look a little dire. And to help us talk about that, we're going to get Glenn in here because he has to leave pretty soon. So Mark will hit you up right after Glenn, and I'll let you know when to come in right after that. And then we'll get Glenn in here. Let's see. I'm gonna read some of the chat real quick while Glenn gets his camera on. Let's see. Toothless in attack, Kamek says. Sloppy for the penalty. It's a comedy routine at this point. Mavery says, for the sake of my mental health, I've been checked out on Atlanta sports for the last 3 weeks, but I had to check in on the fam. Was it as boring and frustrating as the score indicated? I mean, it's frustrating for sure. Boring, I mean, it was... I mean, if we had scored those 2 pullback goals, like, I don't think it would be boring. It would have been really interesting. And it like, theoretically, hypothetically, was interesting in that those goals, like, were really well done. But unfortunately, they didn't count. Kind of a little almost questionable. Anyway, Glenn, so I know you're short on time. Give us what you got.
Short on time. It's a metaphor. Our metaphors are becoming reality. I hate this. I don't know, man. Our nightmares are becoming our reality. We said this at the start, before we even played a game. We were talking about it at the airport when Miggy came back. Vibes were so high. And everybody around was so happy and related, and here comes pessimist me, because I always have to balance it out. And just reminding everybody, there's a lot of potential here for greatness. But if it doesn't, the fall will be that much harder. Because I think most of us would agree with everything the front office did in the off season, and the steps leading up to it, with Hendo coming in, Latte Lot, Miggy, certainly, fleecing DC for Cleek. Good business all around. And I was the one advocating for us to just play this game on paper, because we get a paper trophy. Because on paper, we're great. And it hasn't worked out.
Why hasn't it worked out?
I don't think there's a clear reason. I saw Airborne DJ had a really great little quip on X that said, "This team lacks chemistry. We couldn't make water out of hydrogen and oxygen." Funny.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I think that's going to be even something more difficult for the players to reconcile with, because I think there have been other periods in our history where we had something to point out, whether it was player or coach, and it seemed fairly obvious. This time it doesn't. Ronnie has been successful at other clubs. Facts. He's won trophies in other leagues, in other teams, in this league, and has made the most of what he's been given. And in this instance, I think he has been given quite a bit. And it's not working. I've got some questions for him, for sure, on some decisions he's made. Starting Miggy on the left, I disagree with, but
how about the tactical switch this game from 3 in the back? AJ was saying he just doesn't understand it. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, today I had questions. It didn't make sense. It still felt very much like we're throwing stuff at the wall, and what would stick. I figured at this point we would have known what sticks.
You think so?
The fact that we don't is a big problem. We got less than half the points out of this homestand, and not to give away the intro for our pod coming up tomorrow, but that hill is getting awfully steep.
Yeah.
Awfully steep.
The most frustrating thing for me is how teams are able to do so much more apparently than we can with so much less. Front office not as elite, scouting, right. Analytics, like all the guys that we hired in the back end, all of the players that we've hired, everything, the facilities, the training, the medical staff, everything, the amazing fan base, everything about this screams gonna win, gonna be good, and it's just literally worse than rinky-dink like New England, who gets like 10,000 people in the stands on a good day.
Not even 10,000.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. There's so, like you said, that you can't really pinpoint one specific thing. There's a confluence of issues going on here that are creating this calamity. Would you say that there might be, at least in part, a solution to this with switching around, maybe Moranchuk playing more deep lying, Miggy playing more centrally specifically, and then maybe Silva sitting out on the left, Sabo on the right, something like that?
Kind of what I'm looking for. I don't know if that's the immediate fix, and then we're world beaters, or not even world beaters, at least playing to the level that we would expect and accept. I was fully ready to accept 7 points from this homestand. I really wanted 9, but all right, give me the 7. And we couldn't even do that, man. 4? For real?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think those things could, but I think we've got some deeper lying, just fundamental stuff going on. I haven't seen, and I know this is contradictory to what Mike and Jason feel, and that's fine. We all see it differently and feel the game differently. I haven't seen a clear line of progression. I've seen little steps and little moments where I'm like, oh, okay, so we build from there. All right, but then we don't. Like last week after that draw, I was surprisingly optimistic. Weird. But I needed to back that up with today. You have to hold serve. Or the last week's draw that I felt pretty good about means nothing. And now it means nothing because we couldn't beat the worst team at home. I mean, maybe this is, and I know it's hard to accept, but maybe this is the worst Atlanta United team we've had. It makes no sense because we have quality.
Yeah, it literally makes no sense. It's
Yeah, it really doesn't.
yeah,
But
Yeah, because from a paper standpoint, we're not, and that's the main thing is that this team is underwhelming. It's underperforming. It is every bit of thing that you can look at from a stat standpoint. It's not up to par, and unfortunately,
that's a good
you know,
reference.
we're already a
Masters is going on. Well done.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we're a third of the season in right now, and you know, more or less.
Yeah.
And you know, it's off to the worst start in history. So, you know, if we are to really try to figure out a way to get back into the playoff picture somehow, obviously it's not going to be, you know, our top four dreams. Very unlikely. That's but can we make a run? Can we make like a Seattle Sounders-esque type run? Well, we do have the front office that obviously has experience in doing that, but can they create that kind of magic with basically this fan base is very much they got PTSD. And there's just no way, unless you just, it's like this next 5-game stretch, like you have to do some bits to really get some faith back in the casual fan base, because
need road wins.
I just don't see it.
Yeah,
It's
there were a lot of boos heard on the broadcast. How many were in the stadium? Did you hear?
I mean, I heard him right next to me, so yeah.
And you should.
It was.
You should, because the aspirations for this year weren't sneaking into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Exactly.
not. But do you think, you personally, and then what do you think the majority of the fan base, would they be cool with this scenario if it happened? Obviously, if we turn it around and become like just unstoppable, great. We'll forget about this first third of the season. Wonderful. Seems unlikely. But what if we do make the playoff picture, 6th, 7th, something like that, you know, play some decent football, and then the front office message is, okay, this year it was not what was intended, but we saw some good stuff eventually, and now that's our foundation. So stick with us one more year, and Ronnie's going to go and get it. It's kind of what happened at New York, right? Sort of. And then he went and won the cup. I just don't know if we're ready to wait another year when the message all along was, no, this is top 4 and this is some good football. It's a lot of goals.
Yeah.
Would you be good with that if it happened like that? And do you think the fan base would be good with that?
Yeah, the fan base probably wouldn't. I would be okay with it because I didn't expect to win the cup this year. But like I did hope that we would get top 4, but I still thought maybe that's a little optimistic. I would say like I think I had us like 5th or something like that, somewhere around there. Because I'm like, you know, I think we do okay, but I don't think we're like really pushing into the top tiers to displace some of the best guys. I don't think that was necessarily going to happen yet. But I thought the potential is there for it. Now I'm not 100% sure that the potential is there for it. I mean, the reason why people are really up in arms right now is because they see our position in the placements right now, and they're extrapolating that through the season and assuming we're going to miss the playoffs. That's why they're really annoyed. If they knew we're going to make, you know, 5th or 6th and then play some pretty football in the playoffs, like maybe beat Miami again or something, like they'd probably be all right with that. But they don't know that, they don't see that happening because of what we've done so far. So that's my take on it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean it's that. It's like obviously it's not good enough. It's not what we were expecting going into the season. Is it gonna save face? I mean, probably. That's probably what's the highest hopes that we can have at the current moment. But the reality of it is also, you know, with the documentaries that have shown Garth Lagerwey and his demeanor and what he expects out of the team as well, and that he holds responsibility for what has happened previously. And I think obviously he probably would be right now as well, but it's like last year in our worst moments. I mean, this is not even like right now is our worst moment, but he acknowledged that the fans have every right to be upset, have every right to not be sold on the team, and right now it's an even worse moment. If we it's like we'll maybe find out in the Rooted in the Stripes stuff that comes out later, but that's gonna be rough watching for sure. But right now it's like
the media team for still trying to put stuff together. This thing on them, that's tough.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy is that usually, early on in our club history, we weren't really doing this, but we're being very real as far as the media team and all that, and giving it as it is, because most other clubs around the world are not showing this stuff. They're gonna spin it. They're gonna try to sugarcoat stuff. And at the very least, I commend that the media team and the club is allowing this to happen, because that's at least self-awareness.
Yeah, it's not nothing. It's a big deal. It is.
And so, okay, that's great and all, but the crux of it is that this team is not performing to the standards that they're espousing, because it's also, on match day, you have things like high stakes, higher standards that are being posted from our media team. I mean,
I tweeted that out this morning where I was like, "Oh God, please let this age well." Like that's don't, and then it is what it is.
Like we're a club that likes to espouse this stuff of we're just nothing but the best, but we have to have a little bit of a reality check. Like we are not there, and especially
how long have we been saying that?
Mired in where we are. Okay, so like I just said, there's self-awareness, but there's also match day stuff. Like I don't know, we got to be a little bit streetwise when we do stuff like this as well. So
I agree. Or the post-match will come back stronger. What I want to see there is someone be raw and say, that's
good enough.
That's just not good enough.
Not good enough. Yeah.
Say something like, not that it makes it better.
At least they said frustrating. They used the word frustrating today. So I mean,
you hit the post. You have two called back. That the offside one, I think there's a real conversation about that. It's a deliberate play on the ball, whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the call is wrong for me, but still, second week in a row where we've let the referee have that impact by not
doing our job. Yeah.
It's New England guys. They've scored a total of 3 goals.
Exactly. Yeah. And we hit the crossbar, we hit the post. I mean, it's like, luck was not in our favor, but you still have to, when you are in front of goal, you have to put the ball in the back of the net. It's just we got one of the best strikers in the league for that, and it didn't happen. And it's just
not feeding that guy, not feeding our man.
We're not. Yeah. I mean,
and then,
minute.
It's like
3 crosses, cross. Nobody on the end of it either time. 3 in a row. Nobody on the end of that ball.
Yep. Yeah, it's exasperating. It is just there's not enough movement around him as well in order to
follow
up the pack.
Crash the box.
Yeah, and then players are not being brave enough to get into the box. It's just it could be coaching. but I think it's also whatever it is, because it could be player confidence, it could be the courageousness to play, but it also, I think, is, maybe falling into habits from yesteryear. And we still have enough players that are, unfortunately, have been on very poor Atlanta United teams. And
so
it's
burn it
gonna
to
bleed
the ground entirely, full on. I'm not talking 3-player rebuild, like from scratch.
Yeah, and it's that's obviously very difficult.
I mean, think of it like this. This team, I mean, if results continue like this, right? I mean, assuming we don't have the resurgence that is prophesized, right? But this team technically then is so bad that like the remnants from years prior is so bad that they're weighing down this really excellent, the really new excellent pieces that we added on. Like that to me would be they must be really, really weighing us down if they can weigh down Miguel Almiron, Emmanuel Latelat, and Moranchuk, even if, I would argue though that they're not exactly helping their cases. But maybe, and this is something I said in the Discord that I think might be true. I feel like you put Miguel, you put Emmanuel Latelat, and maybe even Moranchuk on like almost any other MLS team, they're killing it.
It feels like that.
Oh, that's weighty. That's
that just extrapolates the premise of these guys from previous years just weighing the rest of them down, if that's indeed the case.
Yeah. And that's what the crazy part is that if you look at the starting 11, but this is the thing, have we ever had our healthy starting 11 this season? It's no excuse.
Yeah.
No, Luis Abram, Derek Williams.
Derek hasn't been.
He hasn't been great, but Luis Abram was taken off pretty early because it's like, oh yeah, man, okay, it's not. He wasn't doing much either.
They're both not that good, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. And as far as weak links in this team, it's like, okay, yeah, you have maybe a couple, all right.
Yeah.
And as far as the starting 11, but if you look at it on a whole, it's like it should work. It should work a lot more than it does. And it just, obviously health is a factor, but it's I think there is this aspect, whether it's an excuse or not, but when you have to dip into your squad and play some players more minutes than necessary, it's going to put strain on the rest of your players, and especially the ones that are not used to playing that many minutes per se, and then extrapolate that, it's just like a confluence, like Mike said, of just a perfect chemistry of non-chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So
my dog is also very upset about all of this, aren't you, girl? Yes, I know. She's not any of this.
But Glenn, final thoughts, man.
I think paper MLS solves everything. We don't have to worry about cold weather, hot weather, nothing. We just play it on paper. I'm gonna start the league, and we're gonna, we're just gonna dominate on paper. I don't know, man. I wish I did something we could actually discuss and break down and have like debate back and forth and reasoned discussion, and like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and that kind of makes sense too. If you would just do that, none of it makes sense.
Yeah,
none of it.
That's the most frustrating part. Like, people are debating in the chat, do we switch players here and there in that different position? Would this make a difference? And at the end of the day, I think Glenn was alluding to earlier, I don't know even if that would do much. I don't. Maybe, but my whole thing in the chat was also saying, screw it, try it. It's not going to be worse than what's happening now. Someone in the chat was telling me, it's like, oh, well, what if Philadelphia hangs 3 or 4 goals on us then? Because maybe we put Moranchuk at the 6 or 8 and he can't do anything for defending. It's just well, at least we tried something new. and we were working to find we are eliminating potential solutions to be like, okay, this does not work, take it off the table, instead of going, what if, instead of, this at least removes one obstacle or one critique of Ronnie, is saying he's being stubborn. A lot of people are saying he's being stubborn and not changing. Well, if he changes and it doesn't work, then it's like, okay, we can at least not say he's being stubborn anymore. He tried something else, didn't work out. But yeah, I don't know if that would even do anything, but if at least we try, it's saying something for Ronnie.
I just know the further we go, like we have been going, the more 2017, 18, and 19 just seem like fluke years. And this is who we are. This is Atlanta United. That was...
I think that's already kind of established, because I remember like a year or two ago, we were talking about how we've been worse longer than we've been better. And that really just reframed the whole Atlanta United experience to me as like, this is what people understand us to be now on average versus what we were. And it's that, and that's just what kind of sucks. And it's kind of been the story ever since.
The last thing I'll say about where we are, especially comparing it to other Atlanta teams, and us being decidedly mid right now, it's different than like the Hawks, where they're mid because ownership has just decided they're going to be mid, and there's no ambition to build around Trae Young and other things. I digress. Braves, I don't know what's going on with them right now. It's kind of similar to Atlanta. They got a lot of talent, but they can't get the bats going. Falcons, yeah, it's just mid. And then poor decisions from front office and ownership. Kirk Cousins was never going to work out. Here, I think the ambition is there. Clearly, the money is there. And this year, the decisions were there. Like they did everything I asked.
Yeah.
And that's going to make this more painful than previous years, and I think it's going to be more painful for the players too, because they're looking at a coach who's done it.
Yeah.
He's done it with other players, with less. He's done it with less, and supposedly we're more. So that's all I got, guys. It's painful. I'm happy that we're still here and that we're together.
Yep.
But it's hard. It's really hard.
It is, yeah. All right, thanks, Glenn.
All right, I appreciate y'all.
All right,
have a good one.
All
right, peace.
All right, if you can, let's see. I'm gonna message Mark real fast to pop in. We can say hi to him.
I'll shout at him real quick.
Yeah, go do that
Mark!
for me. Oh, he's in the other room.
There you go.
Okay, there you go.
Hey.
Oh, wow, it was fast. Mark, how are you doing? Welcome.
Ooh. Oh, sorry. I thought it was the
Yeah,
stadium.
you got to turn on your mic.
I got him. Don't worry. He's good. Okay.
There you go.
So, Mark, you were at the game. How was it? Did you hear all the boos as well?
I didn't really hear them over my own
Oh,
booing.
he's still on mute.
No, he's good.
Is he? Okay.
Yep.
Sure. All right,
Yeah.
good.
No, I didn't hear them over my own booing. So there's that. No, it's I mean, like, we'll get into it, but I think we can all agree that sucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just, there's really, I'll be honest, like, I'm not even feeling like there's many positives to take from this, right? Like, okay, from a neutral perspective, I think the first half in particular was kind of interesting, right? Because if you take away the ref's penalty, their XG is like 0.3. A penalty, just for context, a penalty is worth like 0.79 XG, right? By itself. So, like, they didn't really create much necessarily, but the possession in the first half was like 52-48. It was basically even. And New England had more entries into the final third, more passes into the final third. And I think that's kind of, like, obviously the way the penalty came about was Latte Lat making like a bad decision. But I think the real issue is Latte Lat being in that position, right? It's the fact that we're sitting so deep. We're having to defend so deep. And I know our XG was there. Our XG is 2 point something. So, like, it's decent, but actually, New England had in the first half. New England had more shots and shots on target than we did. Obviously, they were like spamming a lot of long shots and that sort of thing. But for us, like I think we were a little bit unlucky. I think it was Latte Latu who had that in the first half. Whoever tested the goalkeeper, obviously he had that one-on-one chance. Where I do think the defense did a decent job of kind of closing him down, like not giving him too much room to operate, kind of forcing him into a quicker shot. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I didn't think we were all that. I know, obviously, like the disallowed goal by Miggy, but other than that, I didn't think we were all that effective. And it was from early. It seemed like the strategy was to cross as much as possible.
Yeah.
Which is why we saw Atlanta United. I mean, the last number I saw was 32. I think we ended like 35, 36 crosses, and less than half of them were accurate. So I don't know. It just unless I just felt like we weren't going to score unless something fortunate happened, like a fortunate bounce or something like that.
Mm-hmm. What about all the fouls this game? To give you a recount, New England had 20 fouls on us with only 2 yellow cards given, and we had 10 fouls with 1 yellow card.
And we had yellow cards, right?
One yellow card.
One. Yeah, there was a moment like late in the second half where the ref is making that signal like, oh, I'm going to book the next one. It's like, how about you just book this one? How about you book the previous one, right? Like, it's I think that's a classic MLS ref thing where they don't manage, like, teams that want to take you out of the game by being physical, the refs almost kind of allow it, right, by not stomping down on certain tactics as quickly as they should. So, yeah, I mean, I think that definitely played a factor in the pace of the game not really being to Atlanta United's liking. But to be honest, I also think we kind of played into New England's hands a bit, right? And I think in particular for me with this match, the midfield play really came under the microscope, right? Because it's like when the midfielders get the ball, they're just not, none of our midfielders are press resistant, right? Like they all are liable to lose the ball in tight spaces. And so it's like the ball gets to one of our midfielders. Then today we had Sliss and Muyumba start, right? But it's like the ball gets to them and sometimes they turn quickly, other times not. They try to do a 1-2, it doesn't come off, or you'll see like they'll try to set up a triangle, but then they end up having to dribble backwards, and you just see that U-shaped passing take place that almost inevitably ends in a cross.
Yep.
Or a long shot. So I don't know. Like this is something that we've seen for the past few weeks and really the past couple of years. So for me, it's like obviously like a lot has changed. New coach, new DP signings, but most of the team is still here. So I'm just kind of wondering if like we just have a mid team with a couple stars.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% what it is currently. Can that evolve into something more? Perhaps, but right now that's definitely unequivocally what's going on. And I diagnosed it similarly as you. The midfield is the weak spot in my opinion. Yeah, I know the offense is just kind of not delivering and not being on the same page, etc. But I think those things will eventually come. I mean, you can only miss so many crosses, so eventually they gotta land at some point. But like with the midfield, the systematic build-up, trying to get from point A to point B to point C, that A to B just constantly breaks down. We get pressed in the midfield. I mean, I saw New England pressing us extremely effectively. Yeah. Like,
yes,
what? That shouldn't be happening at all. I don't know why we're getting absolutely pressed by this, mid team here, but they were doing a good job in really frustrating our build out. And if we keep trying to do that, it's just not going to work out with the way we're doing it or with the personnel that we have, because either they're incapable or whatever they're told to do with their instruction isn't the way to do it, and the other teams see the way to unravel that and are doing that effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of, but yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
No. So I agree with everything Mike said. In terms of the midfield, and another thing that frustrates me about the midfield is, those moments where we get in behind, like Saba in the first half. There's like one or two people, and the two people usually, if Amarona and Latte Lout are not on the ball themselves, they're crashing into the box. But that's not enough. And so again, it's like, where are the midfielders? What are you guys doing? How are you helping affect this play? Because to me, like you said, like it just breaks down when it gets to the midfield. It's just so ponderous. It's like 2-3 touches. Even when we're setting up on a counterattack, it's like it's never quite efficient. And then all of a sudden the team that we're attacking against falls back and we have to start over. Yeah, I don't know. I think our next big signing, I'm assuming that they plan on doing business in the summer. I think our next investment has to be in the midfield.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, that's really where, Click was supposed to be somebody that, could run the show for us a little bit. Be kind of a Nagby light to a degree. But obviously, with sickness and injuries and just basically unavailability, he has not really been able to get a foothold into our midfield. And of course, there's a little bit of some defensive liabilities, I think, with Click as well. But the main bit of it still is that, yeah, we lack the connectivity between our lines, and Click in that first match against CF Montreal was doing some bits in terms of always being available. You need that movement. And in this match, there was not enough movement. And basically, that adds to why players are taking 2 or 3 touches. Because you don't have any options.
Yep.
When you don't have any options, you have to be ponderous. Because you're like, okay, well, I got nothing here.
Yeah, that
Give me
and
something.
they immediately, like we pass all the time to guys who are already like double man covered. And so the instant they get the ball, they're getting pushed and harried right off the bat. So they either pass right back or they, shuffle it to the side or something like that. So a lot of times, because of that harassment, the pass goes errant or they're not able to put it where they actually want to put it. So that just adds on to exactly what you're talking about, AJ.
Right. And I think it's a little bit of this. Our center backs, unfortunately, are not good enough on the ball. And yeah, it's the crux of it. I mean, yes, you can only get a certain level of center back play in MLS, but I mean, yeah, you need those type of guys in order to, like, your build-up starts from defense. It really does. And so if you don't have the operators, I mean, it's going to be that. And I mean, in possession, I mean, if you look at all of our defense, I mean, it's like probably the best player on the ball probably is Amador. If you look at Lennon, it's like, okay, he's, decent on the right wing. But as far as build-up, as far as, affecting, being able to go through the lines, it's not exactly someone that, you're relying on. He's not tucking into midfield to help you in possession. He's an option out wide, and okay, when you need it, he relieves some of that pressure for you. As far as Gregerson, it's like, yeah, we know defensively he could be stout. There are some moments, but it's also, yeah, it's like you don't really see him, pretty much handling the bulk of the possession for us. It's really like, okay, yeah, it's side to side. It's a little bit like he's not breaking lines with his passes. He's not press resistant. I mean, yeah. And then you have Derek Williams. It's like, yeah, he has a decent diagonal at times. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's average.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you need operators as well if you're going to try to play the way that we want to play. And I think as of right now, our best bet is to play counterattack football
Yeah.
and to kind of bypass as many lines as possible.
Yeah.
And so if it's Goose pumping balls into Lat, kind of like Chelsea in the 2000s.
Every time.
And it's a check to Drogba type of situation. I mean,
I wish we had a Drogba. I wish we had a Lampard. Like,
yeah. I know if we had a Lampard, which I don't. Yeah, that's the problem. We don't have a Lampard to kind of balance that. But
right.
But
actually, I think that's a decent shout. I was thinking about that today when I was watching us play. It's like maybe we just sit back, invite teams to come out a little more, and just hit them on the break. Like, I think, obviously, we want Dyla to establish, an identity, a consistent pattern of play, and all that. But it is also about getting points, seeing success. I think the players need that as well from a psychological perspective. So I wouldn't mind if the team switched the tactics up, maybe they're a little more basic, but switch it up just to get some results, or just to see a change, something.
Yeah, do some Frank de Boer, Get those 1-0 wins. Yeah, they're ugly and dirty, but at least you're winning.
Yeah, it's a little bit of this. It's earning the right to play. Right now, we have not earned the right to play on the ball. And it's just, play stout defense first. Mm-hmm. Let's get the foundation of that first. I think while we're saying, we want some goal-scoring midfielders, like, we need to invest into our defense. Yeah. It is not good enough. We absolutely need to start from the back.
And on that note, I would even say, looking at the profile of midfielder, to me, what we need is that either a destroyer or somebody that can win the ball back and quickly start attacks, right? And piggybacking again of something that you said earlier, that is a really difficult profile to kind of scout for if you're an MLS team. I always go back to, Atlanta United almost signed Moises Caicedo, right? And he ended up costing $100 million, right? Like Declan Rice, he cost $100 million, right? Like these is what they're different players, but this is what these guys cost. So, like in the global market. So, man, can we get Nagby back? Like,
I know we were so spoiled with him. We say I feel like we say this every week. Like it just goes to show how much of a Nagby-shaped hole we've had since he's left. It's always been that way.
He's not even the destroyer. He's not even the guy that does that for us. Even when he was on the team, it's more that. Like we don't really have players that really break up the play like that. I mean, Sleesh is the closest thing, and there's liabilities there, unfortunately. And ultimately, it's like even a guy that's just a straight up destroyer. He doesn't even have to be like a guy that can recycle possession for us. Even a destroyer, would do wonders for this team. But
I agree.
Because it's like that. It's if you have somebody like that and you put him next to Click, okay, he doesn't need to be good on the ball. It's like the whole N'Golo Kante thing. It's obviously there's only one N'Golo Kante, but if you can get a guy that can break up the play well enough, shield that defense, and then just allow the rest of the players ahead of him to play, it's going to open it up a little bit more than what we're seeing right now, which is just dire. It's just, this is, I mean, ultimately, I'm curious actually what the fans are saying here. If we have some chatter.
Yeah. I'll read that in a second. I just wanted to say one thing though, based on all the great stuff you guys are talking about. This, like you were talking about for a minute, I mentioned Frank de Boer, but harkening back also to Gonzalo Pineda, I felt like what he was doing, and what I think Ronnie might be doing as well, is something that I thought was extremely frustrating, in that, and like what AJ was saying, like we haven't earned the right to play the way we're attempting to play. We think, and this kind of goes back to like what you were saying about how the media team says, the way we talk about ourselves as a team, a franchise, like we're trying to play like we're a really good team and that we're better than all of the other teams we play against by a significant margin. And we are not. And when we then just try and play through the center, you know, with our the way we develop our play from building out the back, we get a quick line of confrontation from the other team, zero press resistance, and we go out wide immediately. Which goes to your point, AJ, maybe we just do counterattacking, because when we try and build it out, we're getting slammed all the time by even bad teams. So my point is, like, why are we trying to play like we're Barcelona when we should really be trying to play like a team that is playing against Barcelona?
I'm going to rename the video. We're trying to play champagne football when we have PBR reality.
That's a good one. All right, let me read a couple of these things real quick.
I'm going to go ahead and change it right now.
Going into the back end, everybody. Maverick and his Queens is also thought the team was playing disjointed, which speaks to what you were saying about the team seeming like a bunch of only individuals. Yep. Emmanuel says, do we give up on this year already? No. I mean, we know of things that exist like Zombie Seattle, so it's possible. I mean, MLS season is very forgiving. We could absolutely make a run. It's okay. I mean, just look at last season. Last season was not stellar whatsoever. We didn't even belong in the playoffs, and somehow we managed to win the very coveted beat Lionel Messi in the playoffs trophy. So there's always that. Clean Clip says, I think Miguel is vastly underperforming. He unfortunately is. I mean, if he hit that banger today, though, that would have really sparked some difference. But unfortunately, he just didn't. Well, I mean, he hit it technically, but, you know. Jack.
Yeah, he had a chance in the 71st, 72nd minute. I think he absolutely should have at least put on target, cutting it off a corner.
And he passed a lot that just were, you know, not on the same page as the recipient of the pass. And it, you know, just coughed up needless possession. Yeah, right. Jack Dickens says, can someone tell me what Schleich brings to the team? I don't see it. I mean, you know, he's just not doing to the level of what we want him to do or expect him to do. He's, in terms of trying to stitch the midfield to the attacking midfield, it's just not really happening from his point of view. It's everything, like we just said, is going out wide because it's forced to. We cannot play through the middle. Teams dare us to do it, and then they just jump on us immediately, and we cough up position or are forced to go out wide. Which is not a terrible thing, but the thing is, we've seen what happens when we're forced to go out wide exclusively. We just pump in crosses because no one has the bravery or whatever, the gumption to try and attack, you know, in centrally and invert and then do something. So we just pump it in and it just doesn't go anywhere. Sam R says this might be just what happens when you have a no-name midfield and center back pairing. Shannon Sharp says, gentlemen, FYI, apparently this is our worst start to a season. Yeah, it is rough. Shannon says also, New England's number 10, Carlos Gil, ran the midfield today. He always does. He's a true number 10. He definitely is. He made the players around him better. Yes, he did. And while our, quote, stars are trying to do it all alone. I mean, it's mostly I agree, but they are trying to play together. They just can't currently. They try, and it's not panning out. Sometimes that makes them go, okay, now I just kind of got to do this on my own right now. But they are attempting, and you can see it. It's just they're not on the same page. So it looks like they're on an island by themselves.
While I do agree that Almiron did not have his best match today, I think that you can see the difference in level with Almiron and Latte Lath versus the rest of the team. Yeah. And I wonder if at times they feel that themselves and try to put the team on their back. Because, I mean, like, it's often one of them. Like I said before, it's often one of them in behind. And if it's not them, they're crashing the box.
Yeah.
You know?
That's exactly what Bill Gluckman said with the whole Barco phenomenon. That Barco ended up just not trusting the teammates. So he just didn't pass to them and just had to do it on his own. This mistrust leads to them playing hero ball. Hopefully that doesn't happen and Ronnie can keep that from happening. But to your point, and this is something we said about Alexi when he first got here too, is that I think some of these players that are used to playing at the highest levels, they operate at a different level and the other guys are struggling to keep up with it. And the guys at the highest levels are struggling to turn it down so they can be on the same level. And maybe they don't even want to, or maybe the coach doesn't want them to do that. And honestly, as a fan, why would you want them to do it? But that's how a team is made, though, right? Everyone being on the same page. Let me just finish a couple of these and we can get back to some more discussion. Shannon says, AJ, do you even believe what you're saying? I thought Alexi playing the number 10 position or the number something position. Let me see, what is that? 8th position, I believe they meant to write, was the solution, and Saba playing on the right with Miggy at the 10. How do we want to play actually? I'll give you a second to answer that.
I don't understand the question. Do
I
I
think
even believe what I'm saying? When did I say that was the solution?
I thought Alexi playing at the number 8 position was the solution.
Did that happen today?
Yeah, he didn't play that position.
No, but he has shifted back in the past to there in mid-game, but I didn't see that happen this game.
That one game that we were chasing the game. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you're always coming from my head. Come correct, or you best not try to swing at the king.
Okay, so and yeah, I was just, how do we want to play? We'll get to that. Yeah, I know we talked about it last week. We were talking about potentially changing things up, but they didn't really do that this game. This game was more of the same from what we've seen from Ronnie. So when they change it up, when he does change it up, we will evaluate that, but it's just really not something to evaluate at the moment.
Yeah, so just to address the Moranchuk at the 8 thing, he played at the 10 today, and then when we switched to the 3 at the back, he still played at the 10.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Jack Dickens says, totally agree, AJ, counter-attacking football would suit us more, but Ronnie seems very stubborn. Yeah, that's that stubborn accusation again that I'm hoping we can get away from, but right now it seems to be coming out. Shannon also says, guys, this is Atlanta. The big clubs don't play counterattack. See, that, right, but that's the thing. What AJ said earlier really stuck with me, is that you have to earn the right to play that way. So first get some wins under your belt, then go, okay, maybe we can transition to imposing ourselves instead of, the other way around. So I think
we want to be a big club, but right now we are not a big club. We are big club only in attendance numbers only, but we haven't been a big club in 6 years. Like, it's just the reality.
Also, can I address that too, actually? Because,
sure.
Okay, if you're using the phrase big club, I'm going to assume that you follow European football, right? In all of those leagues, the teams at the top far outspend the teams at the bottom, right? So there is a natural mismatch, and those teams that have the better team on paper expected to win, they will end up having more of the ball just because of how the match will play out. That doesn't really happen in MLS. Like, you have one or two teams that you respect, and because of how they've played the last few years, like Crew, but on paper, there's far more parity with MLS teams. So like, Atlanta United aren't just gonna show up and impose their will on another team because they want to. So, in fact, 2018 MLS Cup run, the playoffs, Tata absolutely leaned on counterattacking football more, especially after we lost the Shield in the final week. So, no. Counterattacking, no team is above counterattacking football.
They shouldn't.
That's what we need to get.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. I think that's a.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm piggybacking off it because sorry to cut you off, but it's just like
No.
the 2000s in Premier League football. I mean, some of the best teams. So, Chelsea, Arsenal, were playing counterattacking football as one of their main ways of scoring. And they were damn good at it. And that's how you win against the more established, bigger clubs. And so we're not an established big club. Like we haven't been that anymore.
But those other teams were playing us like as if we are and hitting us on the counter and beating the pants off of us.
Exactly. And so we're not a team that we're a team that overspends and gets way fewer results than we should. And it's unfortunate that in MLS, however much you spend does not equate to how good you are. And, like, it's we're learning that real hard.
Yeah.
Some real hard lessons.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Connor Thompson says, is it time for Ronnie out, or is our front office just booty cheeks? I mean, is it a fire waiting to catch, or is it much of the same old Badlanta? Okay, so I'll just start by saying I don't think it's time for Ronnie out yet. I think that's an overreaction. The front office is not booty cheeks. I think that we need to give them a little bit more credit than that. I think it's just not a good start, but I don't think this is a conclusive indictment of their overall ability, because we've seen what they've done in the past and we know they can succeed. So there's probably some growing pains and some learning curves, but I think the pieces are there and things will go into place, but we're not there yet. And unfortunately, we started off on the wrong foot, and there might also be some pieces from yesteryear that are lingering of other people like Boca with Moranchuk that are kind of weighing us down just a little bit still.
And I agree with that. I think there's a profile player that I've mentioned that we should be trying to target, and obviously it's difficult in MLS, but what we should be targeting are leaders, are players that are holding themselves accountable, that will take the responsibility into their own hands or feet, and again, the whole, taking the game by the scruff of the neck. You want to see more of those type of players that are willing to put their neck out there, and they basically hate to lose. The more players you have like that, the better off I think your team, which club that is, you're gonna be. And I think we have some passive passengers in our squad, and you have guys that are okay with losing. They're okay with being a bench player. Like there's players that are just complacent to a degree as well. And the more that the front office needs to be ruthless in order to get the type of players that we need in order to win. And it's clear we don't have those type of players out and out, through and through, out the squad.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just something Shannon said that I think is, it's a good framing thing to remember, is our starting 11 value was 58 million versus the 14 million of New England. And that's what I was saying earlier today, is like, it's so obnoxious that other clubs with far less are able to do so much more. And part of that, like we're talking about diagnosing, is our team's bravado and our inability to be humble and realizing maybe we're not Barcelona. Maybe we should try and play, more counterattacking and not try and impose ourselves onto every team that comes into the Benz or on the road like we have in the past. We've tried to play people on the road with Pineda teams in the past like we're the best team in the league, and we get shellacked and then sit there and go, why did that happen? Like, it just blows my mind. And I feel like Ronnie is doing something similar right now. And it's frustrating that, is it not obvious that this is not going to work like that? It doesn't work in MLS like that. You have to be able to play counterattacking at some points, and you have to be able to play imposing soccer, because it's the different opponents will demand different ways of playing. And you adjust to that. You don't just go, we're Atlanta United and we're going to do what we do every game. And then, it's great to say, but you ain't that guy, Chief, and we can't do that.
Yeah. And it's having the humility, it's eating the humble pie. Again, some of the biggest teams in the world: Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Chelsea in the 2000s. I'm going to beat this horse, man. But it's that. It's like these teams won shit. And how do they do it? Not by always being the protagonist. Yeah, we would love to always be that. We would love to be the Barcelonas. We would love to be the Man Cities. But it's so difficult to do that in MLS. So yes, you have to adapt. You have to pretty much try to figure out, how do I win this game? And it's game by game. It's also, it's like, if you get to the grandeur, it's like, how do I win this duel? How do I win, this half?
Yeah.
And I don't think we're. I think there's things about this squad that are looking ahead too much and not at the granular.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you really, I think, get results, is that you don't look past anything. We look past this team. That's for damn sure.
Which is crazy, because we shouldn't be looking past anybody right now.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, is it like the players wake up in the morning, go to training, and they give them like 3 hours of like indoctrination of, you are the best in the world, you are Atlanta United, you will win every game, you're so good, and then it's just like, okay, I believe it. It's just why we're not. Can we just? I get like we have a brand and we've invested in this concept, so it's kind of shooting ourselves in the foot with on the marketing aspect of things to reverse that. Or I'm not saying we need to reverse that or come out by saying, yeah, we're bad on social media, but like be like, change it to maybe be like, we're going to fight all the time. Like we're the, gritty underdogs or something like that. Change it to, there's other narratives you can take besides just, we're the Kings, come at us. And then it's like every week, well, they came at us again this week. Okay.
So something I wanted to address with the MLS roster value comment. At least the last couple of years, the Athletic releases like basically the value of each roster based on like information from MLS Players Association and so forth. And what you notice is that the teams that are spending the most on their roster, it's typically because of like one or two big signings. It's not necessarily a reflection of the depth or the overall well-roundedness of the squad, right?
Yeah, take a look at Columbus.
So Toronto,
yeah,
right, exactly. So like Toronto's been an example of that kind of team where they have like I don't know if they still have Insigne, but I know they have begins with B. He's just scored. Yeah, exactly, right. But what have they done since they signed those players? Nothing.
Yeah,
right.
If anything, they've been the talk of the town before we were, because they had signed those massive players and they were at the bottom of the table for a while.
Exactly. Now, am I expecting that from us? Like, do I think we made a mistake signing those players? No, but I think like you can't win a soccer match with just two players. Like those players need other players closer to their level if we want to see any type of cooking or
exactly.
Or what have you.
Yeah, that was the issue, the main issue in my estimation about Aruju. Like he's a good player in a company of good players, but outside of that, when he's got to be the guy, he's not like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who's just gonna like, I'm gonna score 2 goals by myself. Like he's not that guy. He needs an accompaniment, and that's why you see him go. Before he was in Atlanta United, did pretty well, came here, then he moved on and he's doing pretty well again. So when you have a higher level around you, you can interact like AJ was saying. You have different, you're all kind of on a elevated wavelength at the same time, versus here the wavelengths are all over the place, and having the coach try and sync that all up, especially with a team like Atlanta United, it's very difficult. When you look at like a team like Seattle, where you don't necessarily have that like extreme disparity between the different wavelengths of the players that you have on that team, you could see a little bit more chemistry and a little bit more cohesiveness with the way they play, or the way that Columbus plays, or even Cincinnati. I mean, Lucho Acosta's not like a world superstar, but because of the way their team plays together, he plays very well. It's a force multiplier when it's like you have that kind of on the same pageness, that wavelength. Whereas us, we're all over the place.
And it's we're talking about Zlatan, generational talent. Messi, generational talent, obviously, or even just like not even generation, like all-time type of talent. That essentially that puts you over the top. You can, like we saw with Inter Miami, they were terrible. They were bad, and somehow with Messi coming in, and then plus also Barcelona and friends, it made them so much better. But
and they still lose in the playoffs.
Like they still lose in the playoffs. Exactly. Like it's not a given, obviously, especially in MLS. But we don't have generational talents on this team. And, say Alucho Costa, I think he's an MLS generational talent. But as far as, any of the players that we brought in, I mean, it's really only Jose Martinez. I mean, Miguel Miron, as great as he is, not a generational talent. It's not one of those things where, he alone is going to, put us over the top. Like he is a piece.
Yeah.
And he needs, a striker like Emmanuel Atl in order to be successful, but he also needs a good team. And that much is abundantly clear that, he alone can't do it. And we have to play a little bit more of the Seattle Sounders game in terms of, filling out the 4 through 11 as good as possible in order to, and really frankly, 12 through 18 in the squad, in order to be deep enough, in order to, kind of make those lofty comparisons of the Sounders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, are we marred by our history of trying to spend big, and which is not the MO of Garth Lagerwey, of Chris Henderson, really, when they were with the Sounders?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of this, it's maybe a toxic mindset almost, to a degree, that it's like, oh yeah, we have the ability to spend all this money, we should. Otherwise, we've been guilty of saying it. Like, okay, yeah, we have the money. Clearly, Arthur blank paycheck, he's willing to, but does it actually hurt us because we don't get the level of 4 through 11 players?
You know what? That is, I'm thinking about it a little bit more now, and that I feel like they tried to do what essentially we're saying to a degree, because you talk about Stian Gregerson and Schleich.
DP Lights.
They got DP Lights to come in and then eventually bought them down, so you'd have like more stout, higher level players in positions that, and then we had to have like a semi-famine season last season because we were putting money into those DPs, so we couldn't get true DPs in their places. So like we did that in order to have more stout players in their spots, and yet these guys are still playing like they're GAM level players, like MLS regulars that you see at any given team, if not, unfortunately, worse, it seems like in some degrees.
Let's be real about the players as well, though. So you have Stian Gregerson, who's playing in League 2. You have Tristan Muyamba playing in League 2, and we brought them in. Saba Labjanidze, what was it, the
Turkish First League?
He came from? Turkish First League, which is, I mean, obviously not top 5. And so, you have that. Schleich as well, although he is playing for his national team, and, some other players as well playing for the national team, but it's levels. Like, it's not where, and, it's kind of one of the, I guess, qualms we have is that, we still have players that are called up at a gargantuan number, really. When we have a whole 11 being called up for international duty, that exacerbates some of the issues as well when we're playing through international breaks. And, I think the casual fan doesn't care about that context, honestly. So, when we do play through that and then they see a result, they're just like, oh, well, they suck again. And so it's like, whatever. So ultimately, like, I think we might need some, like, really good lobbyists in Don Garber's ear as well, because the way we spend money also is also to our detriment, because we also lose when we have an international break, when we have the moments where, these players are going to be a little bit more overplayed than, say, other squads that don't have guys that go on international duty.
Yeah.
And is that the reason why we're
Yeah. Like
in
I
the
like
place that we are?
I like
Oh.
Stian Gregerson, but did we have to find the only guy in Ligue 2 who plays for their national team? Like I just it's kind of like, did we have to do that? Was that the only one available? And also like with Slish with Poland, like it's a little like, were they the only CB and 6 available? Like it's just weird to me that they keep doing that. I guess it's high profile, and this is part of the big club mentality. We have all these guys playing their national teams, and it's a detriment, unfortunately. I mean, it's a good marketing tool piece, but what does that do on the pitch for us?
Yeah, when it comes push to shove, and we we need points, especially when other clubs are sending some guys out, but it's usually like 3 or 4. It's not 11 guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, but is it the sole reason why we're in the place where we are? No, but
definitely not.
Does it affect the way you have continuity within the squad? Hell yes, it does. And so, it all,
because
like we're saying,
because it affects the game after as well. Like we've noticed in the past years when we come back from international break, now the players are like, we got to get readjusted. They have to get reestablished some chemistry, and chemistry has been such a elusive thing that we haven't had in, I feel like, forever, and just adding another variable to find it even harder is just shooting yourself in the foot again. So that's just one roadblock you can remove versus not doing that. So
indeed. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Let's get some of the chat.
All right, so there's a bunch more comments.
You don't have to read them all.
Yeah,
it's fine. If you want us to read it, super chat us, and we'll read yours.
I'll read a couple more. Connor Thompson says, I just worry our academy and second squad has 0 leaders as well as dudes, and when your spare parts are broken and your car is a dud compared to Philly and other clubs that have a good depth and farm system. Eric Nijedli says, why was Lath playing so deep? We had no outlet. Joseph would never concede a PK because he would be offsides up the field. That's funny, I'm sure. He would get called offside while we're defending in our box. Kyle says, I'll say it again, Saba never gives the pass back on the break bad decisions. He has been making chronic bad decisions this season, and it's very frustrating. I think it's part of the reason he was benched. Clean Clip says,
he's trying to get the monkey off his back. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Like he's
that's
trying
not
to
how
get,
you do it, bud. That's not how you do it.
Yeah.
Clean Clip says, just park Moranchuk. Connor Thompson says, well, I do hope all 3 of you have a good weekend and hope we can play as the underdog with that mentality against Philly. Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. Clean Clip says, not Ronnie out, but they should have given the job to Valentino. A lot of people are saying Valentino wouldn't be having the worst start to its season, or to the season in history. We can't know that obviously, but a lot of people are saying that, which is interesting. And lastly, Dallin Hammond says, Dyla is the reason we are bad right now. He's not holding people accountable. Yes, you can debate reasons why Miggy or Marinchuk should play the 10, but people are not playing the positions assigned. They keep roaming too much. Like, I do see a lot of roaming. I think there is a lot of that, but I think that may be part of Ronnie's direction. I think they tell Miggy he can roam, because a player like that, you kind of want to roam to a degree. I wouldn't be surprised if he gives him a lot more leniency. Same with Latte Lot. Maranchuk seems firmly planted usually where he's at. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's more because, he doesn't have the pace.
Exactly.
To really,
That's why I kind of laughed when I said that. Anyway, do you guys have any thoughts about any of those comments?
Yeah, that last one, it's like, I don't really think that's the roaming thing is an issue per se. Yeah, because it creates more space for other players, and I think it's just more of kind of the total football thing of, okay, yeah, if somebody vacates a space, somebody else needs to fill it. And okay, I don't think that's being done really that often. But you also have different types of operators that maybe aren't able to be as flexible in their positioning. So yeah, they're not maybe the safest if they peel out wide. They might get caught out defensively if they were to do that. So, you know, you start to overload in some areas, which might kind of be good in some game states, but yeah, you also need, I think, enough flexibility in their positioning in order to kind of make sure that you can actually play that way. So it's twofold. I agree that you know, some players maybe shouldn't have all free roam ability, like Moranchuk. Like I would say, like, you know, probably our fullbacks, probably our center backs, probably Sleesh as well. It's like, yeah, you probably need them to kind of be more rooted in their positions, at least their zones. But some of the other, yeah, it's like Lat. Why he was tracking back, because yeah, he's seeing that there's deficiency in our defending, but also, like, he definitely kind of more like Jose Martinez 2019. He's trying to get a feel of the game. When you don't get any touches, well, then you're just getting starved. And I mean, he wasn't really being fed. Like, yeah, he had the one-on-one chance, but other than that, there wasn't really much given to him. It was just, you know, kind of blind cross, and hoping that, you know, his jumping prowess would win. But obviously, yeah, it's just not, like, it's a big hope to ask let's be real, like a 5'7" player to be winning all those headers in the box.
Yeah.
Because again, he ain't taller than Miguel Almiron. And he, something's awry.
Mark, any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I think the team is playing without belief. I don't think they really believe in one another. I don't think they really believe in the tactics. I think that's why, for example, you don't see people crashing the box. You know, sometimes this happens to Almiron a lot. He'll make a run and the ball doesn't come. I think that there's maybe a lack of trust that from the player making that pass, that they can either get it to Almiron or that Almiron will actually hold on to it. And so, yeah, you know, like I think, you know, the static play when we have the ball, I think there's just you know, there's a lack of chemistry. And I think also, again, the belief that, like, oh, if I make this run, I'm going to get the ball. So, yeah, I think a lot of what we see in how Atlanta are playing right now can be summed up by a lack of belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Shannon, we're not dodging questions. That was just AJ trying to get people to spend money. That's all, so we can keep the lights on. But no, Shannon also says, yeah, like the international duty stuff is just a broader conversation. Just this, like we said, it has nothing to do with this game or games that are not affected by international duty. And also, like, what is total football and how does it apply here? I mean, I'm gonna not deal with that one, because I feel like that's just that's gonna like stun lock us and put us down a rabbit hole that we don't need to really get into. And Kyle says, "Say it, Mark Saba." And let's see. Also, Shannon says the solution is in the leadership of the technical staff, not the players. And that because this team got to the semifinals last season. And then he's also saying that we were very excited about our front five. Now we're blaming defenders who are at a lower level than Alexi, Miggy, Latte, Saba, etc. It's like, yeah, that's true, but I think that it's not necessarily just the defenders. We were really harping on the midfield. For me, at least, that's a big one. You know, Fortune, Click, Sleesh, even Moranchuk, to a degree. Like, the midfield, it needs to be better. So that's a thing I've always maintained, and I always will maintain. I think championship teams are built around those kinds of teams, because you don't need the super intense, crazy superstars up front to win you everything. I think a very well-rounded team is what does it, and it starts in the midfield. You don't even necessarily need to do it with the CBs or with your attackers. It's that stitching together. When you can do that, things happen. Outside of that, you get what we have now, or, you know, Yeah, you get what
If
we
you
have
look
now.
at right, if you look at like Barcelona, if you look at Man City, I mean, yes, they have all the spending power as much as PSR will allow. But if you look at Spain, they were docked with midfielders, and so you have those type of guys running your game. It's going to be really difficult for you to lose the ball. It's going to be really difficult for it's basically in those instances the best type of defense is having the ball.
Yep.
But we don't have those operators. So we don't have those operators. We shouldn't be trying to square peg round hole this shit. Like it's like we have players that are limited. So let's play to their strengths. And what's our strength? We have pace up top. We have guys who can put a long ball in. I mean, it's not crazy right now in order for us to get points. And then, like we're saying, earn the right to play.
Yeah. I mean, and I constantly say I want to see more offsides. Not like how we did it today, by the way, but more offsides with how we attack, I think, is something we really need to see more of, because we didn't see the good attacking offside calls that we'd like to get. Mark, final thoughts, because we're running overtime and dinner's coming soon.
Yeah. The last couple of seasons, and this season included, I think there's been like a kind of a buzz coming into the season for Atlanta United fans. It's like, this is it, we're back, and so forth. I think it's abundantly clear that we're not back. And I think a big part of the reason is the league has changed a lot since Atlanta United first came into fruition, right? And so the way we hit the ground running and took the league by storm in 2017, that's just not going to happen. Like look at a team like Charlotte, who we used to basically punk, right? Like now they're like a serious team beating us 2-0, So I think for a lot of people involved with Atlanta United, fans included, this is just a lot of humble pie. And I think it will get better. I think, there's plenty of season left. MLS is very forgiving. More than likely, no one team is going to run away with the shield or whatever. So I'm far from giving up on this season, but I think we need to be realistic about who we are and where we're at right now.
Nice. One more thing I wanted to say. I overheard this in the press conference, and when I first heard it, I maybe thought it was like a nothing burger. Maybe I was reading or hearing too much into it. But Tyler Pilgrim also posted on Twitter saying he had a similar thought. So maybe it bears repeating out. That he says, one of the phrases I heard multiple times today between Dyla and the players after this match was, quote, "We can't start blaming each other," unquote. So he says, not sure if that's just a message from the coaching staff to the team to preemptively stop the blame game, or if something happened. It's interesting. So I thought to myself when I first heard it, it sounds like people are getting hard on other people in the locker room about their performances, and it's creating some toxicity, negativity that's bleeding into how they're playing. And that could go to explain some things.
Yeah,
very well could. I mean, we can pontificate who they might be talking about, but I mean, I think it might be a foolish.
That's a little specious.
There, Yeah. But I think if there is, which it sounds like there is, because they wouldn't be saying it if there wasn't. Well, it's fascinating, and of course, you have that always possibly to happen anyway. It's like, yes, some people with their personalities are going to be more apt to blame somebody first than look inward. So, okay. But yes, I think that is a good message in the sense that, if they stick together and if they maybe behind the scenes, maybe during video sessions and reviewing matches where they are like, okay, well, you definitely could have done better here. And they improve in that sense. Okay. I think that's that's not playing the blame game. That's just more, okay, yes, pointing out and figuring out what wasn't working and doing better in the future. And hopefully we have the coaching staff that in order to actually do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't really been able to kind of adjust, dip and dive in the first third of the season so far. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to do. And yes, like Mark's saying, it's a forgiving season. And yeah, momentum can swing really, really heavily where, you know, we just start picking up a string of results. But I mean, we need to do that quick. We need to do that fast because, yes, the rest of the season, 2/3, it's coming up quick. It's like if you allow yourself to get a bad string of results even more, I mean, this could go haywire.
Justin Florney says 100% agree. Kyle says, say it, AJ. Saba. So I think people are pointing to Saba for this. Anyway, all right. So that's, I think, about it for us today. I think we beat the dead horse enough as it is. Come back next week for more dead horse abuse. So that's it from
Hopefully
us, I
not.
think. What?
I said hopefully not, but
Hopefully
yes.
not, but you never know. I mean, it's probably going to not be pretty against Philadelphia, who is just performing wildly this season already. So, great, super cool. All right, so AJ, yeah, do you want to sign us out?
Indeed. Well, yeah, guys, thank you guys for sticking around all the way to 7:35 after the match already. So, yeah, for Mike, for Mark, I'm AJ. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We will see you in the next video. Good night.